Have you ever binge-watched your favorite show for an unreasonable amount of time and felt bad about it afterwards? Well, that doesn't have to be that way. Presenting to you a TV show about ethics that actually makes you an ethically better person.
But is that even possible? You know, like, can a TV show about ethics actually make us better people?
I don't know.
Good God, maybe you should have, thought about this for a while before making an ad like this.
Well, it's kind of late for that.
What are you even talking about?
You know the show The Good Place? It aired on NBC from 2016 to 2020.
Never heard of it.
Well, then let me explain.
So the show takes place in the afterlife, where there's a good and a bad place. It's sort of like the heaven and hell concept, but it's not at all religious. The decision if you get into the good or the bad place is made based off your actions on Earth. Each of your actions give you positive or negative points. Now, if your point total is very high, you get into the good place. If it's very low, well, obviously into the bad place. Now, our protagonist, Eleanor, was not exactly, the best person on Earth, but she gets into the good place, apparently by mistake. There she meets her soulmate, Chidi, who was an ethics professor on Earth. He helps her to become a better person so that she can stay in the good place undercover. I can't tell you anymore, I would just spoil you. Now that didn't answer any of my questions, but thank you.
No problem. So while you were watching this little video, I've made a plan to answer your question.
Oh, great. Does that mean that I can lean back and relax?
Yeah, sure. Let's get started. Before we get caught up in conclusions trying to answer this big question, let's answer the small ones first. First of all, we're going to answer the question if television even can be or teaches philosophy. Next up, we will answer if it is even possible to become a better person, ethically speaking, of course. And also, how can we judge if an action or a person is ethically good or bad? And last but not least, is there any evidence that anyone got better through TV? There are multiple approaches we can take to answer this question. At first, we're going to look at TV and fiction in general, and then at thought experiments specifically. You're going to see why in a minute. Also, we're assuming that everything that is philosophy can teach it to us, regardless how good or bad it is at doing its job. But for now, let's have a little debate. You there from before, I need your help.
So I don't even get a name? Very respectful of you. Very nice. Thank you.
I need you to debate with me. You just gotta argue that television can be philosophy.
Do I get a drink if I do it?
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
So, where's my drink? There you go. Alright, so I don't think that philosophy can or should be anything else than just pure theory like you can read it in books. Well, that's obviously wrong. Haven't you ever watched a science show as a kid? Since I'm an eternal being and I technically had no childhood, no. Your loss. However, when these shows can explain quantum physics to a 5-year-old, I don't see why they couldn't help you understand ethics in a more fun way than reading Kant. Well, maybe they can teach you about philosophy, but they themselves can't be philosophy. Why wouldn't they be? I mean, again, children's shows can teach you a certain philosophy. Take Jack the Kindness Show. Just the name itself stands for a rather utilitarian interpretation of being good, and after every episode, you learn a new universal maxim. Maybe you have a point there, but the real question here is, why do you know so much about a children's show? I might have watched it because it's so wholesome. Okay. I mean, just let me. It's none of your business what I'm doing with my time. But when you're saying that a children's show can be philosophy, doesn't then suddenly every stupid piece of media become philosophy? Yeah, kind of. Even if it teaches you to be selfish. I mean, take Ayn Rand. To quote Todd May, there are 2 problems with Ayn Rand. She can't think and she can't write. She also published her philosophy of being selfish means being good through fiction. Yeah, but is egoism really a philosophy though? Yes, maybe not a good one, but it certainly is one. So do you think we can agree on saying that not everything is, but everything can be philosophy? Yeah, it sounds about right. Great. You may now return to your couch.
Now, with thought experiments that are often used in the show The Good Place to explain stuff, we can bring quasi the same arguments, but let's ask some philosophers about that.
Oh, I don't believe in hypothetical situations, Mr. Donaghy. That's like lying to your brain.
Kenneth, you've lived a sheltered life. Virtue never tested is no virtue at all.
You think that thought experiments in general can help explaining ethical theories to a broader audience?
Yes, I think I'd go even farther than that, and I would say that thought experiments can help philosophers understand their own views better. It's not just about going for a broader audience, it's actually about trying to figure out, as a practitioner of philosophy, what's true. It can really help to vividly think through a scenario.
Thank you. And how about not just talking about them theoretically, but rather visualizing them like in The Good Place?
It's just that it's so theoretical, you know? I mean, maybe there's a more concrete approach. Here, let's try this.
Oh, God! Michael, what did you do?
I made the trolley problem real so we could see how the ethics would actually play out. There are 5 workers on this track and 1 over there. Here are the levers to switch the tracks. Make a choice.
The thing is, ethically speaking...
No time, dude! Make a decision!
Well, it's tricky! On the one hand, if you ascribe to a purely utilitarian worldview...
Okay, so, what did we learn?
I've asked Todd May, who worked on the show as a philosophical advisor, about this question, and here's what he said. I do think that the visualization helped in getting people to understand the dilemmas. Philosophy has a tendency to offer a quick thought experiment without any details. Adding details helps in understanding the dilemma, but also in remembering it so one can think it through. Great. So now we know that fiction, like a TV show, can be philosophy and help us in understanding it. I think it's time to move on to the next question. Can we become ethically better people?
What happens if we flip the question? In one sense, you flip the question and it looks much easier. Can television make you a worse person?
Oh, of course. Are you kidding? Oh, it's doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, television is excellent at making people worse. Most things that are on television, if you watch them, will make you a worse person, I think. I believe that. I would say 80%, call it 80 to 90% of things that are on television, just the act of watching them will make you worse.
Well, if we say that we can become ethically worse, then we should be able to say that we can become ethically better people, right?
I met with her when I was first working on the show, and I was like, here's what I want to do. I want to do this show, and I sort of explained the basic way it would work. And she said, there's one fundamental problem with your idea, and it's that you can't try to become a better person. It doesn't work. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, it just doesn't work. Philosophers would tell you that it doesn't work. And I was like, well, did any philosophers think that you could try to become a better person? And she was like, Aristotle. And I was like, great, I got one. I got one. That's all I need. I need one to justify this idea.
Good to know, but let's see what Todd May and Schwitzgebel have to say about this. Do they think one can become a better person? Absolutely. However, it's not just a matter of reading philosophical ethics, but of incorporating ethics into one's life. Aristotle had it right. Becoming a better person has to do with habituation. That's much harder than it would be if we could just pivot and act differently. But that's not who we are. We need to act on our idea of what we should be like over and over again until it becomes part of us.
Do you personally think that one can become a better person?
Yeah, it would be too depressing if there weren't the case that you could become a better person. I'm not sure there's a formula for it. I'm not sure we know how to do it. I think sometimes people think that they can become a better person by doing this or that, and then they might not actually become better or even become worse.
So I think we can say, yes, one can become a better person by constantly reflecting on our behavior and trying to improve.
But how are you supposed to judge if someone became a better person?
Yeah, right. How can we judge? You know what? I think we should bring in another eternal being to answer this question. Janet? Hi, I'm Janet. Janet, could you explain to us how we can judge if a person became better ethically? Sure. Well, we can divide this question in judging actions and judging humans. Let's start by how we can judge an action. We can judge an action by A, its intentions, B, the outcome it had, or C, the virtues used. That means in particular that we can A, ask us the question, well, what was if everyone did this? Or B, how much good or bad did this action create? Or C, did I over or underuse any virtues? For example, maybe you were too courageous and put yourself into a dangerous situation without it being necessary, or you were not courageous enough and you were a bit of a pushover. Now, judging humans is a little bit more complicated. You could set certain diameters that you decide are either good or bad, and then check through self-reporting how good or bad a person is doing. That's the way Schwitzgebel did it in the studies about ethics professors.
We looked at a bunch of different measures, like maybe 17 different measures of good or bad. And the idea was, even if we're wrong about a few of the measures, hopefully overall, it would be convincing. One of the more controversial measures was the meat eating measure. But we looked at a bunch of other stuff. We looked at, we looked at professors, whether they joined the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s. We looked at self-reported rates of charitable giving. We looked at whether professors responded to emails from undergraduates. We looked at courteous and discourteous behavior at APA meetings, like leaving behind trash at your seat or letting the door close. We looked at stealing library books. We looked at voting in public elections. We looked at self-reported staying in touch with your mother, if your mother is still alive.
By the way, the study didn't find any major differences between the behavior of ethics and non-ethics professors. In fact, they even found that ethics books were more likely to be missing from libraries than others. Now let's answer the last and probably most important question. Did anyone ever get better through watching The Good Place or TV? To answer this question, I made a survey and posted it on the subreddit of The Good Place. Now, before we look at the results of the survey, I think there are a few things we've got to mention here. First of all, this survey wasn't representative at all. Second of all, we don't have any control group that we compare the results to. And third, there's a really good quote from How to Be Perfect that I think is worth mentioning here. Chapter 1. Should I punch my friend in the face for no reason? No, you shouldn't. Was that your answer? Sweet. You're doing great so far. If I surveyed 1,000 people and asked them if they think it's okay to punch their friends in the face for no reason, I bet 1,000 would say no. Footnote. Though if I put it up as an online poll, it would probably be like 70-30 in favor of punching our friend in the face for no reason. The internet is terrible. You know, they always say a quote should never stand by itself, but I think this one can. So have the viewers of The Good Place ever experienced the TV show having an impact on them? Now, regardless of good or bad? Interesting. A majority did. And how about specifically The Good Place? Oh great, look, one person got worse because of the show. See, that's why I felt like we needed the quote. But again, a majority said it had a good impact on them. So I think we can say that yes, The Good Place did change people for the better. But if we look at why people watch the show, we see that actually more than 15% watched it to learn something. Hey, you from before. You just wanted to start watching the show before we did this, right?
Yeah. Why are you asking?
Well, why did you start watching it?
Oh, yeah. Because of the creator, Mike Schur. And look at this. I've got a little figure of Mose, the character he played on the American adaptation of The Office. It's so cool.
You know, humans are so weird. Anyways, let's continue. Where were we? Alright, 15% watched the show to learn something. What does it tell us? It tells us that even though a majority picked entertainment as a reason to watch the show, that also a bunch of these 76% watched the show with an open mind to learn philosophy. Now, if we go back to what Todd May said about becoming a better person, we know that he agrees with Aristotle, who said that habituation is the relevant point to look at here. And that's kind of a hard thing to find out over an internet survey, so a way to look at it for me was to ask if anyone got interested in philosophy through the show. And, well, nearly 30% did. That's amazing. That's a bunch of people who got interested in philosophy through a TV show. Also, 20% said that they already had a little interest in it, and 37% said that they knew a little about philosophy. Now, what was surprising to me was that 6.5% of the viewers said that they actually started watching the show only because of the philosophy. And we don't want to talk about these other 6.5%. So yeah, in summary, I think we can say that The Good Place did change people to the better. Now, we don't know how the impact worked or how big it was, but there was a good impact. So kids, what did we learn? Well, we learned that TV can be philosophy and that watching The Good Place can make you a better person. But it's not just about watching TV mindlessly, it's about watching the characters and taking their lessons in our own life and constantly reflecting on our behavior and trying to improve.
Woohoo! I knew it all along. Just watching television makes me practically a goddess.
No, that's not what I said.
I really don't care, you know. I'm gonna go punch your friend in the face for no reason now because, you know, you gave me the idea. You're kind of responsible for that now, so thank you.
For God's sake, why? Just why? Now we can't even finish the Super Bowl commercial. Damn it!
You're basic, here's a cactus. Darcy is a great actress. Not a person, not a robot. What do we owe to each other? Cheating and I can drink. Eleanor loves shrimp. Tahani is a sexy giraffe. Molotov cocktail. Oh, dip. Donkey Doug, call me Donkey Dad. Oh, no, a burrito. Doug for a sec, got 92%. Holy motherfucking shirt. Oh, you're basic, here's a cactus. Ted Danson is a great actor. He's a demon, but a nice one. What do we owe to each other? Jeremy, bury me. Everything is fine. Mindy St. Clair gonna run one now. Please bring a cocaine next time. Maximum, Derek. Let me show you my butthole. Blake Bortles. Holy motherfucking shirt. Oh, you're basic. Here's a cactus. Great actor is William Jackson. Indecisive, gives lectures. Everybody hates philosophy professors. You're basic. Here's a cactus. Jamila is a great actress. Did the right thing, wrong reasons. And she died in Cleveland. Mr. Gorman loves frogs. GD's got a stomach ache. Actually, it's more like a leap into faith. Megan Amram can't stop with the puns. I wonder how many points I'll lose for this novelty song. You're basic, here's a cactus. Great actor Manny Jacinto. On a scale of 1 to 13, 8 is the best. You're basic, here's a cactus. Kristen Bell's a great actress. This is the bad place. Holy motherfucking shirt balls. You're basic, here's a cactus. I'm in love with Mark Evan Jackson. He's a demon with a podcast. Now go do something good.
From Milan.